Right, let's have a look at the top places for you. 10 to 65, Fittipaldi, Mansell, Gordon, Andretti, Lyondike now and Cheever. They're the top runners.
Well, Eddie Cheever's made plenty of progress through the field, Eric.
Yeah, and basically a car that is last year's car. It was very successful here last year. In fact, it's a 92 Penske Chevrolet with a B version engine. The car that finished first and second here last year. Now here's a replay of the incident. Al Jr. goes down the inside of Brayton, loses control. Look at this, bang, crash. That's what forced Scott Brayton to go down the escape road, and now Al Jr. obviously is his
that little nod of the head then,
day.
gee whiz, he said, that's disappointing.
Said a lot, didn't it?
Well, I think what happened was, he probably thought, gee, this guy's braking super late. I'll go in on the inside of him, and little Al really just got sucked in, didn't he?
Exactly. Locked up the rear, slid off, and of course, once he gets that far side, it is all over. From then on, you just hope that you don't hit anything too hard. Unfortunately, Al Jr. did hit something too hard.
And that's ruined a pretty bad week for him. Right, that's Emerson Fittipaldi now, and you're looking at Nigel Mansell in behind him. Here's the view as Mansell chases him up the beachfront. They'll come down into this tricky section. Oh, that car sitting there, that's pretty dangerous there. They'll get it out of the way as quickly as they can. So there's Fittipaldi and there's Mansell. Mansell closing all the time. Charles Stewart in the pits.
Yes, another update on the Paul Tracy situation. Initially, they thought he'd broken a drive shaft and was out of the event. That's not the case. He's got a broken push rod in the rear suspension, and they're hoping to repair it and get him back into the race.
Yeah, thanks, Charles. Well, you just saw Mansell, the car attitude there, unbelievable, totally sideways.
Well, he just went in so quick and the back of the car slid out, but gee, you know, he corrected it and got going. I mean, the old heart rate must have gone up then.
Well, I'm telling you, he was lucky to hang on to that car because he lost it over the curbs and tried to gather it up. I guarantee the heartbeat went up there, and look how much Emerson is now further away from him than he was a lap ago.
That's the hardest thing, fellas, isn't it? I mean, you chip away, you work away, you get the lead down, you know that you're in an attacking position. One mistake, you've got to do it all over again.
Oh, absolutely. And now he's going to probably take 2 or 3 laps, to get back to even where he was before. Here we go. Here's got a shot of it now. Look, left, right-hand wheel up on the curve.
Hits the curve. Look how close he came to the wall on the right-hand side. He could have wiped off the right front suspension on that car so easily.
But I tell you what, a less experienced person would have hit that wall. He probably would have frozen or jumped on the brakes, but you know, you could see Nigel fighting with the wheel. Even though he was going towards the wall, he was correcting it and had the power on.
Well, we always know that this is going to be a race of attrition. It's a demanding circuit here. It's a long race. Lots of walls to brush, under brakes. And look at this, they're pointing them away. They're warning them of that car that's sitting out there. There it is, it's still there. So they're warning them the car's there. They're trying to get the truck in to get it out of the way. I'm quite surprised, actually, a yellow hasn't come out. Anyway, they're still racing. That is the gap now. Traffic coming into play. This is really going to be interesting now.
Yeah, because they're going to join these back markers right at the twisty part of the circuit. As they go in now to this left-hander, they're going to be right on their backside, and that will definitely hold Emerson up, and this could help Nigel tremendously.
Emerson Fittipaldi lines up the first slingshot to get through. Mansell's through also. They might have done it pretty well here. Still one in front of them. Robbie Gordon just sitting back. He's been dusted off slightly, but he's still very much in touch as Mansell closes up now. They're back on the Gold Coast Highway. This is a drag now down the long straight here, past the pits, the commentary area, and heading into those 2 chicanes. Now remember, Mansell made up a lot of ground with brakes at the end of this area.
And he will do the same again here. Great pictures here from the in-car camera. Look how much he closes up. That's Jimmy Vassar in the yellow Codilux car right ahead of him. They need him to move out of the way and let this battle sort itself out.
Gee, this is good racing. This is fabulous racing. Now they're going to catch up on Vassar going into the left hand near the A&A Hotel. So with a little bit of luck, he may be able to get onto the back straight in time for them to get on with it. No, Emerson will probably be right behind him for the next left-hander leading onto the straight.
So Nigel Mansell tucks in behind Emerson Fittipaldi. Robbie Gordon sitting in behind them, of course, in 3rd place. The battle interest, though, here. Emerson Fittipaldi stretches the legs now of the big Penske. Mansell doing the same thing as he closes up on brakes. Here we go. Tell me that car's still there. No, they've moved it, I think. Yes, they have.
Yeah, but there was still a yellow out, which meant that Emerson couldn't pass him. Now he's under a green, he can go for it.
Vassar, incidentally, is 18th on the road.
Vassar's 18th, moves out of the way. Robbie Gordon now needs a bit of help from Vassar. Get out of his way, but look at Mansell again through the chicane.
He's going to line it.
Oh, he tries to go.
Yeah, he's going to... Oh, no, he's going to try and do the same thing he did to Gordon, but Emerson's having no part of it.
Oh, defensive driving is now what we need from Emerson, and he knows how to do it, and Mansell knows that too. But this is what road racing is all about. Mansell versus Fittipaldi.
Two of the most experienced drivers in the business at Mansell. I don't think I've seen a car sideways so much in the hands of Nigel Mansell. Really trying, but Emerson Fittipaldi won't give way easy. He's won this race last year. He's won the Indy 500. He's won a Formula One World Championship. He's just as experienced as Nigel Mansell and more experienced in this form of racing. Down they go, nose to tail, through the first chicane on that straight. Both cleanly through there. Now they hit another one, and Mansell may close up under brakes.
Yeah, it's great. Lola Ford versus Penske Chev, and it doesn't seem a great deal in it.
There really doesn't. It's the back half of the track where you straight line that chicane that Mansell is particularly fast. Under braking and back on the power again. That's where we saw him pass Robbie Gordon earlier. So it's that part of the circuit that Mansell makes up most of his time. 14-16.
Gary Brabham, full of Australia, is 15th at the moment on the road. So he's doing a pretty good job. Got to stay with this though, because it's a fascinating duel between two great drivers. Emerson Fittipaldi and Nigel Mansell, and Robbie Gordon, a youngster, still hanging on there in the AJ Voigt car, black number 14. If anything, he's closed up a little on Mansell.
He certainly has, Darryl. I tell you what, these two won't want to make the slightest mistake, because Gordon will be through.
Interesting, Alan. Gordon and Mansell climb all over the curves on that back chicane, and they are much faster than Emerson, who is driving around the curves.
Yeah, I really do believe that Penske's working extremely well. I think chassis-wise, I think Emerson's probably doing it a little easier than those two.
You can hear the brakes, everything squealing, and the tyres, wheels spinning on this road. Beautiful pictures, great audio effects coming off this racetrack. We can't get you any closer to the action than we're putting you now. Now you're riding as close as you can. That's with Nigel Mansell. That's Emerson Fittipaldi up in the front. Down the Gold Coast Highway again, and look at Robbie Gordon. He's definitely making some ground on Nigel Mansell. If the youngster can get in touch, anything can happen here. Through they go. Fittipaldi first. Through Nigel Mansell goes. This is the area he's made up a lot of breaks, but remember, Robbie Gordon at the end of this straight really improved his position twice in this race already. Probably not close enough at the moment, but will it make a difference with his position behind Mansell?
Beginning to settle down a little bit now. Gordon closing up. Mansell not attacking Fittipaldi as much as he was earlier on. Maybe having a look, but look again, under braking is where Mansell just seems to be better, Alan, doesn't he?
He does indeed, and whilst he's done an enormous amount of testing in his car, there's nothing like a race to bring out something different. And obviously Nigel is used to carbon fibre brakes, active suspension, automatic gearboxes. Now, he has done a lot of testing, but as I said before, under race conditions, without the carbon fibre brakes, whether he's using them a little bit more than Emerson, time will tell.
Let me bounce something off you. Nigel Mansell said in the interview the other day, look at just using every part of the circuit. Mansell closes up again. I'll come back to Mansell in a minute. It really has a big run up behind Emerson Fittipaldi. He mentioned the other day that with the compulsory stops and the yellow flags, that he had to drive tactically a different way to Formula One. He said there's no real need to get a big cushion here. You know some stage you're going to lose that when you pull up. Well, has he been sitting back as he pokes the nose in again? Now it's a drag down the straight.
Well, you can see the car going sideways. I don't think he's sandbagging. I don't think he's sitting back. Emerson just picked up a little bit of a plastic bag on the front of his left-hand spoiler. I don't think that'll affect him at all. I don't think Nigel's sitting back all that much. I mean, he's still giving the car plenty. He's riding over curves. He's going sideways. Nearly put it in the wall at the FAI chicane. So he's driving probably 10 tenths to keep up with Emerson.
The Penske looks quicker down in a straight line, though, doesn't it?
Well, it does. We saw it right there. But Mansell on the back chicane is definitely much faster. He plows right up over the top of the curb. He's on the power earlier, and if he's going to make an attack on Emerson, that is where it's going to come.
Yes, I think he'll probably line up Emerson much the same as Robbie Gordon. He'll go through that chicane a little bit quicker, get the run on the exit, and then line him up to go on the inside of that left-hander.
Robbie Gordon in the black car in behind Nigel Mansell. You're looking at it 1, 2 and 3. Nothing in this and a long, long way to go yet. Gordon, there you go now. He's right in picture in behind Mansell. Mansell chasing Fittipaldi in another lap or so. I tell you, the youngster's going to be climbing all over the Formula One champ.
Derek, I tell you, if it stays like this, these pit stops are going to be very important.
This is it here. This is where Mansell climbs over the curves and has a run at Emerson. Now look how close he is again. Look, he's going to come down the inside.
Locks it all up, Mansell. Oh, what a move from Mansell. Locked him up and went down to the inside. Fittipaldi fights back.
Well, 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 he almost didn't pull it off. He locked up those front brakes. Emerson tried to make a counter-attack, but Mansell was gone. But look at Robbie Gordon now giving Emerson all he needs.
He's had a look at that from behind and said, I'll have a piece
Now,
of
at this stage of the game, Nigel's got no steering at all. He cannot even steer that car. And that is a decision of an experienced driver. It really does. You've really got to talk yourself into letting your foot off the brake to get your steering back to go into the corner.
What a race, what a motor race, what a street fight here at Surfers Paradise. Starts now Mansell from Fittipaldi, and look at Robbie Gordon. He's up into play now. Has seen all of that happen from behind. He'd like nothing better than to lead these two, let me tell you. Shot looking back.
I don't think Nigel's hanging back for a tactical race.
I think you're right.
No, he is not. Here it is again on the inside. Now remember, he got a superb run at Fittipaldi. Here it is. Now watch the front wheels. Look, locked, locked, locked. Then he lets it off. Gets his steering back.
Goes wide.
Wide, wide. Look at the smoke still come off those tires. And he was still able to hold off Fittipaldi.
Beautiful pictures here. Sensational stuff. We can't put you any closer to what's happening. Robbie Gordon now lines himself up to have a look at Fittipaldi. There he is, the nose cone right up under the exhaust pipes of the Penske.
I just hope that Nigel hasn't flat-spotted a tyre that we'll see an unnecessary pit stop. It didn't look that way, but I certainly hope he hasn't.
Now, what Nigel has also done is exposed for Robbie Gordon Fittipaldi's one weak spot on this racetrack. So Gordon is very good at going over the top of those curves, so he may try a similar out-braking maneuver if he can get close enough to Fittipaldi.
Well, if you're not sitting on the edge of your chair right around Australia, I don't think we'll ever put you there. We'll take a break and we'll be back shortly. Welcome back to the FAI IndyCar Grand Prix here from the streets of Surfers Paradise. Hope you're enjoying the coverage right around Australia, New Zealand, in fact, pretty well all around the world. Mansell, Fittipaldi, Gordon, Andretti, Lyondike, Cheever, and back in 15th, Gary Brabham. He's holding position there, and I must say the other big improver is Bobby Rahal. He's up into 8th position now. But fellas, I'm going to throw something at you. The fuel window, as we call it, are on laps somewhere between 20 and 24. We're now on 19.
Well, I tell you, if they stay as close as what they are now, these pit stops are going to be fantastic because the race could almost be won or lost in the pits.
Well, exactly, and sometimes when the crews do an equally good pit stop, the key to whether you can make a pass or not is your actual in-lap, how fast you're into the pits, and your out-lap on cold tires. And Mansell is not that comfortable yet on cold tires, as we saw in the opening 5 laps of this race.
Of course, the other thing now, Nigel's coming up to lap the back markers, and they're all new to him. Once again, I'll just reiterate, he's done a heap of practice, but he hasn't raced against these people. Unlike Formula One, he won't know who to double guess. He won't know who he can trust.
Exactly, and trusting a driver. Oh, Mansell's in the pit. Mansell is the first man to make the stop. This is where the face of the race may change.
Okay, Nigel Mansell now in the pits. We'll sit it out with him. Derek, just go through what's happening now.
Nice and easy so far. All new tires all around, and the fuel is what takes the longest time to go in. So look, the tires are ready. Mansell sits there. Now remember, it's a standing start from here for him. And he makes it.
Oh, lights him up and leaves plenty of rubber as he goes out, Nigel Mansell.
So now he's back on that cold rubber again, so it's going to take another 4 or 5 laps to get working temperature up in them.
Well,
there you go.
He locks it up immediately. Well, that's the way to flat spot the tires. That'll cool them down a little bit. But the next thing we have to watch for is how quickly Fittipaldi can get in and get out.
So Mansell now back in 5th position in this race after that stop.
Well, I mean it with all respect to Nigel. I mean, that was just inexperience on those type of tyres. He's obviously in race mood. His body and mind are still in race pace, and he's come out of the pits, and he just hasn't allowed for those cold tyres.
And hopefully he hasn't flat spotted the tyres. He wasn't actually on the brake for that much certainly for any longer than he was when he made that pass on Fittipaldi. But I'm sure Emerson will be in the pits very soon.
So Emerson Fittipaldi and Robbie Gordon, 1 and 2 on the road. That's the red and white car and the black car you see there. They're obviously going to come in pretty shortly. Now, of course, people in Australia are used to the pit stops in Formula 1 being 5 or 6 seconds. It's a different ball game here at Indy.
Well, it is, because in F1 you're allowed as many people as you want. One to hold the tyre, one to hold the gun, one to put the new tyre on. In Indy cars, you're only allowed 5 people to work on the car. That's all.
And also, if anything gets in the way, if he takes off and leaves a jack or anything like that, they can be penalised.
Oh yes, your crew is responsible for everything they bring out into the pit lane, and if the driver runs over an air hose, he will be penalised. He will be brought back in for a frustrating stop-and-go penalty.
Emerson Fittipaldi down through the chicanes on the Gold Coast Highway, still leading this race, expecting to dart into the pits at any moment. Robbie Gordon sitting in behind him in the black car. It'll be interesting to see if they both go in together, which can be the case quite often in this sort of racing. Nigel Mansell back to 5th after his stop, and we've got a vehicle on the circuit.
Oh,
and that's why. Barry Sheen in the pits.
Yeah, Darryl, that was definitely a stop-and-go penalty. I just asked one of the guys here, and the reason was he passed under the yellow flags. He was due to come in for fuel in 3 laps after that, so they came in early and sort of changed his tyres and refueled him. I've had a look at the tyres that came off, and they were really badly flat-spotted, so all we can hope is that he hasn't done that to the brand-new set that he just bolted off.
Barry, just explain that again. That was a penalty stop?
Yes, it was a stop-and-go penalty, because what he did apparently was passed under the yellow, although we couldn't see it on the television, but there was definitely a yellow there, apparently.
Well, if you're going to get a stop-and-go penalty, I couldn't think of a better time, 3 laps before you're due to fuel anyway.
Well, that was it. I asked the guys, and they said, we're bringing him in 3 laps, and then all of a sudden there was a panic, and I asked what was going on. They said it was a definite stop-and-go.
Barry, this is Derek here. You might just want to check that. I'm not sure they're allowed to work on the car during a stop-and-go penalty.
Well, if they ain't, it's a bit late, but I'll ask you, and I'll come back to you, Derek.
Back in the pits now, Emerson Fittipaldi, he blasts down to his pit. Did Robbie Gordon come in? I'm not sure, I can't see. Yes, he is, both in. Well, this is a battle of the crews now.
Derek, let me ask you a question. No team can put fuel in the car quicker than another team. They're all allowed the same diameter, they've got the same size fuel tank. So in theory, can one team get more fuel in quicker than the other?
In theory, no. So it's just getting over the wall, get it hooked up and get the fuel in as quickly as possible.
Well, so really there can't be seconds difference. Whoa, look at this, Emerson the same problem.
The same thing as Mansell, and only he had the brakes on a lot longer. There's Mansell, so Emerson takes the lead.
And Nigel's got his tyres up to working temperature. They haven't, so he should be back in the lead any second.
So Mansell back into second place, but I've got to say that to you, Robbie Gordon's crew actually won that. Look at Mansell diving all over Emerson Fittipaldi and takes him.
Yeah, well, he's going to be able to brake a lot later because his tyres are up to working temperature. Emerson wouldn't even try and duel with him into that situation because he knows his tyres would be a lot colder.
Well, he should have, because now he doesn't have a chance. Everybody's tyres after about 2 or 3 laps will be up to working temperature. But what a street fight this is. Into the pits, and the order changes and Mansell fights back again.
But I've got to say that Robbie Gordon's crew actually won that changeover, but because he was so far up pit lane, Emerson Fittipaldi got out quicker.
Yeah, that's possible. And Robbie Gordon is probably the least experienced pit crew here, because the Penske and Newman Haas people have been together for so many years. Look at Mansell. Again, climbs over the curbs, and Emerson drives around them.
I would say that Robbie Gordon's team would be a little bit relaxed in the pit stop without AJ breathing down their shoulders.
Yeah, you better be careful what comments you make about AJ, because he is big and he is strong and he loves to hit people.
Yeah, but he's away as well.
Now Mario Andretti, he's in the pits now for his change. Taking in some fluid, you can see throws the bottle away, nice and calm. You can see them getting rid of all of the air hoses and jacks away from him, waiting to come down. Down it goes, and he's out. He'll smoke him up too as he leaves. No, nice gentle.
Oh, no, he lost the revs then. No, that was a bad getaway for Mario.
He did lose the revs. Wasn't a good getaway, but let's go down again to Barry Sheen in the pits.
Yeah, Derek, I've had a word with one of the car officials, and he said, yes, definitely you're allowed, even though you've got a stop-and-go penalty, you're allowed to refuel the car. And so, you know, thankfully it's all right.
Well, then, you tell me how that's a penalty.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more, you know, but it's just perfect timing for a penalty, I suppose.
Nigel Mansell back in front. He took the gamble coming in, whether it was a penalty, a pit stop, whatever the situation was. He came in, the first man into the pits, changed over and took advantage of heating his tyres up, while the other two, Emerson Fittipaldi and Robbie Gordon, were in the pits and now back in the lead.
Gee, Derek, everywhere I look I see yellow flags, and you know, that's got to be disconcerting, because it's the old cry wolf situation. If they leave the yellow flags there out long enough, the drivers say, oh yeah, I know what's there, that's that car that was parked 4 laps. But in between time, if there's been another shunt, it could be extremely dangerous.
Well, it could be, and that's why the drivers rely so much on the quality of flag marshalling around the circuit. And when you go to a different country, it's just like driving with different drivers. We mentioned earlier with Mansell, you don't know the quality of the track marshals, so you just hope that when they wave them, there in fact is a dangerous situation, and when they're stationary, you just have to be aware that something may be going on.
Well, Derek, I've got to tell you, I think the quality of our marshals are as good as anywhere else in the world.
Brabham now, Gary Brabham up to 12th place. We'll keep you on his progress. We'll keep you up to date with that. We'll be back shortly. In the pits, Gary Brabham. Welcome back to the streets of Surfers Paradise in the FAI Indy Car Grand Prix. 25 or 65 in a ripper race. Mansell, Fittipaldi, Gordon, Andretti, Lyondek and Chiba, and Gary Brabham is now up into 14th place, so he's going well. Bobby Rahal, I heard, come past a few moments ago, and there's a misfire there. He'd worked himself up into 8th position. This is a battle for 2nd and 3rd. Emerson Fittipaldi, Robbie Gordon sitting in behind him, and the top 3 drivers have all made their first stop.
And there's no doubt Emerson cannot relax at all, because Robbie Gordon, he is not able to pull away from him at all. We see Gordon still crashes over the top of those curves. Gordon said in qualifying he hit them very hard with no damage to the car. Obviously, Emerson is not as confident that he can hit those curves on a consistent basis every lap of the race and have the car be mechanically able to withstand it. Remember, Paul Tracy went out very early in the race with a broken drive shaft.
Well, Derek, you know, you can look at the car, but really until you crack test it with the right machinery, you just don't know what the metal's doing.
Well, exactly. It was an eyeball job that they look at, but you're absolutely right. I mean, something that you can't see is the very thing that'll catch you out and break.
Looking at Emerson Fittipaldi, watching for Gordon. There is a bit of traffic. He gets a line through there, though. That's all right. The traffic moves out of the way. Nigel Mansell up in front.
I think that was Matsushita, and he did the right thing if it was. He actually saw them coming, slowed down and let them get through. So that was well and truly the correct thing to do.
So Emerson in the brand new Penske. This is the first race for this car. Brand new Chevrolet C engine. Last year they had the B version of the Ilmor Chevrolet engine. When Ford introduced their new engine that Nigel Mansell uses, well, the Chevrolet just was not fast enough, so they developed and built in a very short period of time a brand new C version engine that they hope will be able to run with the Fords. Now, I have to say, it's Mark Smith now that's the traffic ahead of Emerson. He needs to move out of the way. But this weekend, I would have to say, the Ford engine is regarded as being just a little bit faster. And, of course, the Ford engine is what Robbie Gordon has in his.
So Emerson Fittipaldi getting a nice break there when he went past Mark Smith, because he's now put Robbie Gordon back a little further.
Robbie Gordon's dropping back at a bit of an alarming rate. I'm a bit worried about that. He has fallen back quite considerably.
In fact, you're right. In one lap, because we saw him earlier on. Look at him get sideways under power there, exiting one of the low-speed corners. But you're right. In one lap, Gordon has lost all this time. It may be a driver mistake, or he may be in a little bit of trouble.
So we'll keep our eye on car 14, Robbie Gordon. Drop back from Emerson Fittipaldi. But when you've got to give it to Nigel Mansell full credit here, because he's taken pole for this race. He had his problems yesterday. You're riding again with him now. He is leading his first ever IndyCar race from the pole position. It's all going to plan for Nigel Mansell.
It sure is. I mean, he paced himself. I mean, psychologically, that would have been not too good for Nigel to have seen those two cars get in at the start and looked like getting away from him initially, but he kept his cool and he's paced himself, and now he's in front.
If you look very closely at Mansell's steering wheel, see those numbers, 37.1? What that is, it's the fuel number. remember, when Nigel's digital readout on his dashboard reads 37.1 or more, it means he will not have enough fuel to make another full lap, so he has to go to the pit and make a pit stop.
So let's now go aboard with Danny Sullivan in car 7, and there's his heart chart working up around the 130, 135 now. We'll see him as he comes down into the braking area. 127, it drops back straight up to 163, 153. Incredible. That's how his heart's working in tune with the car.
Let's have a look at it through the FAI chicane.
Yeah, it could be good through. He's in 16th place at the moment, Danny Sullivan. Now we're coming into the area, AJ.
Bit of a disaster in qualifying. Missed the second session, which was the important session. In fact, during his earlier pit stop, they had the side pods off the car working on the electrical system. So Danny Sullivan not having a week to remember here.
See it just fluctuating around the 40s and the 30s, straight up again up around the 136s.
It's actually a bit lower than I expected. Racing drivers, when you monitor their hearts, it's usually 175 plus. The amazing thing about monitoring the heart of a racing driver, they have a sustained high heartbeat, which is equal to that of a bicycle rider, believe it or not.
Actually, you've worn one of those sort of things. Where was it, Daytona?
Well, that's right. No, at the Long Beach Grand Prix in 1984, I monitored it, and amazingly, it was 178 beats per minute on average over the 2 hours. And at that time, what amazed the doctors was that a driver could sustain that type of heartbeat for such a long period of time. There's Guerrero about to get lapped by Mansell. Guerrero very disappointed with the performance of this car. This is Kenny Bernstein's team. You might remember Kenny Bernstein, so famous for his drag racing exploits, the first man to do 300 miles an hour this year. But Guerrero not on the pace this year, about to be lapped by Mansell. Let's go down to Barry Sheene in the pit.
Yeah, Derek, I'm down at Robbie Gordon's pit, and I've spoken to the guys down here. He doesn't have any problems at all. There's no motor problems or tyre problems. They said on the radio, he said he's just having a hell of a job trying to get past Emerson, which we can all see, so there's no problems to speak of at all.
Well, it could be the case he's just having a little bit of a rest, because, you know, you can play yourself out and then just come back with a vengeance again. Well, Tracy's back in the race. He's in 21st position, but minus 9 laps.
Well, I think Paul Tracy will be turning in some pretty vicious laps, because he knows he's well and truly out of the race in relation to a place, but he'll be out there now just to prove to Roger Penske and everybody that if he wouldn't have had the problems, he could have been lapping as quick as anybody.
On lap 29 here around the streets of Surfers Paradise, the clouds have blown away. We're back to blue skies again. A nice breeze is blowing. Ideal conditions for racing here. Big crowd. Well done, Queensland, turning out in force to watch Nigel Mansell take on the cream of the Indy car races.
Emerson needs a bit of help here, because Mansell is drawing away just a little bit every lap. He needs Mansell to get caught in traffic, but thankfully he's actually pulling away from Robbie Gordon, so he's in a comfort zone here. Well, there's Mansell up ahead. He creeps away a little bit. You can see there, 3.6 seconds behind the leader, Nigel Mansell.
Well, it's early days, and you know, I wouldn't be at all surprised if we get another yellow between now and the end, and that'll bunch them all back up again.
Yes, we've seen this situation around these streets before as we watch Robbie Gordon in action now. Certainly not throwing the car around quite so dramatically he was in the early laps. The pace has settled down a little bit. He's securely into 3rd place at the moment.
Believe it or not, during the warm-up this morning, Robbie Gordon broke the gear lever out of the car. They had actually bent it slightly because he was rapping his knuckles against the carbon fiber side tub of the car. And they actually bent it a little bit, got in, did the warm-up, and actually snapped it off in his hand.
That doesn't surprise me one bit.
He's not a gorilla. I mean, they did agree that they actually did bend the metal and weaken it, but I mean, luckily it happened in the warm-up, not 5 laps into the race. Actually, this is a 92 version car. AJ Foyt does have 2 93s, which Robbie Gordon will use later on, but he thought for the opening races of the season, the 93, the most important thing is a good run at Indianapolis, so they're keeping the new cars for later on. So Gordon will actually become even more competitive as the season goes on.
Yes, I was just about to say, I think old AJ will give him the 93 after this.
Yeah, fantastic performance from Robbie Gordon. Really bad luck, though, for Paul Tracy. I was really looking forward to a dice lap after lap between these two, but that's not to be. But Tracy, as we've told you, is back onto the circuit again. So expect some pretty spectacular stuff from him because he really knows how to drive it. Mario Andretti now. Andretti was sticking on the end of that bunch and doing so well. But old Mario, he'll just grind them away.
Here's Cheever and Rahal. Cheever, remember, also on a year-old Penske. We saw Rahal go by here earlier on with a misfire. Seems to have that cured. Now, Rahal, remember, his own car. They are designing and building their own car, trying to beat and be better than the Lola. But Cheever doing very, very well.
That's the battle for 7th and 8th. Stand by. We'll be back shortly, right around Australia. 62.65, the drama continues here. Fittipaldi now in the lead from Gordon, Andretti, Mansell back to 4th, Lion Dyke and Bobby Rahal. In 14th is Gary Brabham. Now the reason he's back to 4th was a dramatic pit stop just a few seconds ago. Mrs. Mansell now with a stop. Into the pits, new tyres, top up with fuel, quick drink for Mansell. We've got Barry Sheen there. We'll have a full explanation of this in just a moment. He went from 1st to 4th, and this is why this racing is so exciting. Lays the rubber, and Barry Sheen is there with all of the reasons why that pit stop happened.
Yeah, Darryl, the reason that he came in was because he thought he had a puncture. They're checking him now in the background here, just to see if he did, but he said he was sure he's got one of the tyres was going down because the car started feeling sort of jelly-ish, so he came in and bunged a new set on it, and I can see him in the background here, and as far as I can see, they haven't sort of come up with one that looks like it's going flat yet.
Well, that's a very difficult decision for Mansell to make, but if it feels bad enough, he does have to go to the pits. But if they don't find anything wrong with the set of tires he took off, well, then maybe the gremlin is still in that car.
Well, that's the point about it. You know as well as I do. If you think you're getting a bit of a flat one's going down, you know, it's better to be safe than sorry, isn't it?
Thanks, Barry. Yeah, well, of course, you know, if it's not the tyres, it could very well be something in the gearbox or the dip that's making the back of the car move around, because that's the very feeling that you get with a tyre that's going slowly flat.
Well, he will be chasing Mario, who's now in 3rd place, so we're going to keep our eye on him just to see can he reel Mario in, because he was running almost a second a lap faster than Mario before he made that pit stop, so that's what we're going to watch up here in the commentary box.
So now it's Emerson Fittipaldi. That's the man in car 4 that you can see comes up onto Scotty Brayton there. And Emerson Fittipaldi, the lead has changed now 3 or 4 times. He gets through there under brakes quite nicely, heading up for the beachfront again. Mario Andretti now in 3rd place. We still have Robbie Gordon in 2nd place and Nigel Mansell back to 4th place. So it's been a race of changing fortunes, particularly from Emerson Fittipaldi and Mansell's point of view.
And here we are back with Gordon again. Well, there will be a new life of our enthusiasm injected back into Gordon now that things suddenly got easier. If he can catch Emerson, he can lead an IndyCar race for the first time ever.
And let me tell you, if he gets in front, they'll have a bit of trouble getting past. I think he got caught out early with Nigel Mansell's experience when we saw Nigel go underneath him after a wonderful slingshot move through the chicane.
Well, that's right, but he is probably a little bit quicker than Emerson through that very same chicane. So, as Derek said earlier, if he can get close enough to him going into that, he could very well pull off the same move Nigel did.
Well, Derek, you've been around these cars for a long time. We're at half distance now. What have you read into what you've seen so far?
Well, from what I've seen so far, this is the critical part of the race where you do not want to make a mistake. Everything has settled down. You begin to read what your competitors can do. Gordon knows that he does not have the speed, I think, to beat Emerson at the moment. So for him, in such an early stage in his career, the absolute key is not to make a mistake now and throw away his very well-earned and good 2nd place. So Gordon needs to be aware of that. And when you're only 24 years of age, it's very difficult not to charge and push hard all the time. When you do that, you can very easily slip into that little danger zone, which causes the mistakes.
Time to drive. Oh, what a big lock up there.
Mario almost collects Guerrero. No need to do that because he was actually putting a lap on him. But you see how quickly you can get into trouble under braking when you lock those wheels.
Here's a replay of it coming up. It really did get an attitude.
Now, this is the same corner, Alan, isn't it, that Mansell made all his moves earlier. It's very slippy when you come down the inside.
It is.
But Mario, very lucky he didn't collect Guerrero and take the 2 of them off into the tire barrier.
So now really it's time to start driving with the head rather than the boot.
Oh, absolutely. I just think it's pity we didn't have a hard chart on Mario then. Also, we're now approaching the time of the race, really, where you cannot afford any unscheduled pit stops. Earlier in the race, if you do have an unscheduled pit stop, you've got half a chance of maybe getting it back. The more we go into the race, the less you can afford to make an unscheduled pit stop.
Well, exactly, and obviously Mansell is out of sync now, but when you make an unscheduled pit stop, you give Emerson Fittipaldi and the Penske team such a huge advantage, and it's hard enough to beat them when you're on an even keel.
Derek, interesting here, Phil Longfield, our statistician sitting beside me here, has just pointed out down in that corner we're talking about where we've seen a lot of slipping and sliding, there is a pedestrian crossing down there. Now obviously it's been scrubbed out with all of the race that's gone over it, but it just might be a little slippier than the other parts of the circuit.
It could well be, and here's Gordon, slices down the inside of Scott Brayton into one of these chicanes. Luckily Brayton moves aside because he's had enough action earlier on, almost got taken out when Alonso Jr. was heavily under braking. Let's go back again to Barry Sheene in the pit.
Yeah, Derek, it's getting really confusing down here. They've just spoken to the Goodyear guy. It definitely wasn't a puncture. All the tyres were virtually the same pressure and what they should have been. The other thing that's come into play now is because of the stop-go penalty, he came in three or so laps before he was due to fuel, so he's definitely going to have to make another fuel stop now. And as far as the guys know down here, Emerson is going to go through with just one stop, so it should get pretty exciting when he comes in for his other fuel stop.
So Barry working his little butt off up and down Gasoline Alley, as they call it in IndyCar racing, keeping us up to date with what's going on there. Well, it really is going to be a battle of tactics now. Nigel Mansell, fellas, has not been used to being in this position. Like in the last few seasons, he's been out in front dictating everything. I mean, I don't know how it's going to affect him from a mental point of view that he's had the pole position, he's led the race, he's now lost the lead through little problems he feels to experience. I mean, I know he's experienced and he's a great fighter, but it'll phase him a little bit.
Oh, it will. It'll frustrate him because, you know, it's just another form of motorsport, and he really is the new boy on the block. And whilst he's read about it and looked at 50 minutes or whatever videos and all the rest of it, it'll still be frustrating him.
They're the standings for you. Fittipaldi, Gordon, Andretti, first, second and third. Then Mansell back in fourth. Lyondike and Theo Fabi now in the top six, so he stayed to make a move.
Well, we have the luxury of the EDS timing and scoring monitor up here in our booth, and Mansell's last lap was a 1:40.5, which was actually quicker than Emerson, Gordon and Mario. So I don't think there's too much wrong with Mansell's car right at the moment.
This is the man at the moment leading this race. Emerson Fittipaldi won here in dramatic circumstances last year. Andretti's spoiler, we can see a problem there. There it is on the front right hand. You can see it's been damaged.
That'll unsettle the car. That'll really, I mean, particularly in the fast sweepers and that FAI chicane, that will really unsettle the car.
Well, Mario must have attacked somebody else because he didn't lose that when we saw him get down inside Guerrero. At least I don't think he did. So he's obviously made contact with something else now. I don't think he would stop just to have that fixed. He'll continue on and wait till his next service point comes at his next pit stop. Here's Mansell right here.
I reckon we're in for a classic Mansell deal now, because this is really Mansell territory. You know, he's had the unscheduled pit stop and he'll felt very hard done by, and I reckon we're going to see laps in the high 39s now, because he's just going to try and make up that deficit.
The fireworks we're expecting from Nigel Mansell. Very quick out on the circuit, so mentally now, and from his confidence point of view, he knows the car's right now. He's aware of the times he's turning in. They'd be talking to him from the pits and say, well, you're lapping very well. How does the car feel? It feels a lot better now. That all helps, doesn't it? That's the attack.
Oh, it does. And when they tell him that he's catching Emerson by 0.3 or 0.4 of a second a lap, you know, that'll just put more fuel on the fire.
Well, Mansell is one of the fastest cars on the racetrack now, but the key to it is, remember, he still has to make another pit stop, as do the three people ahead of him. So he has to crawl his way as close to Emerson as possible if he stands a realistic chance of winning this race. He's got to get close to Emerson before they both make their last pit stop.
So the crews in Gasoline Alley be feeling pretty twitchy about all of this. I mean, the pressure comes back to they can't let their driver down. He's worked so hard to get into that position.
And he's 20 seconds behind Fittipaldi as we stand now. And he is running a little bit quicker, but he certainly won't make up. Oh, he locks up that left front again. It'll be difficult to make up that 20 seconds before the next pit stop.
Back with the leader, Emerson Fittipaldi. Robbie Gordon sitting in behind him. Robbie Gordon.
What a great run Gordon is having. The amazing thing, Gordon, last year when he did 6 races for Chip Ganassi, for someone with so little experience, he very seldom went off the road, and Alan very seldom crashed cars, and you don't often see that when you throw a new rookie into an unusual and difficult environment like that.
Well, that's all down to his car control, and every now and again a driver comes along with that sort of car control, and he's one of them.
Well, Nigel Mansell is catching Mario Andretti. We'll be back with that action shortly. 65, Emerson Fittipaldi, the Penske, still out in front from Robbie Gordon, Mario Andretti and Nigel Mansell, Lion Dyke and Farby. But look at Mansell closing right up on the back of Mario Andretti. Great dice here. Mansell's just driving the wheels off this car. He's led, he's been bumped back, he's had pit stops, now fighting back again. But just a few moments ago, some very interesting information from pit lane from Barry Sheen.
Well, what Barry told us when we were away there for a couple of seconds was the biggest advantage Nigel could get now is if a yellow flag came out, because what that does is, well, a full course yellow means everybody has to bunch up behind a pace car. Now Nigel makes up all that time on Gordon and Emerson. But even more important, if the yellow flag lasted for 3 or 4 or 5 laps, it is possible that Mansell has enough fuel to go the distance without making another stop. That could really, really play into his hands.
Over the weekend, Alan Jones said it's like a high-speed game of chess, and it's all happening. And as Mansell goes in, Mario says no way. Mansell goes on the inside and gets him. This time, Mansell taking his teammate, Carl Haas, Paul Newman. They be sweating a little bit, particularly Carl Haas, because he's watching it from here.
Well, no team orders. I mean, Mario didn't give that up very easily, that's for sure. But it's certainly Nigel's found his place. Oh, hang on, there's a Penske going very slowly. I hope that's Tracy and not Emerson.
I believe it is Tracy, number 12. Yes, it is. But I'll tell you what, did you see Mario and Mansell fight over the one piece of road there? Here it is again here now. Mario does not make it easy. Mansell comes down, flexes his muscles, forces the issue. But in fairness to Mario, we did mention earlier on, the right front wing of that car is gone, which makes it slow through the corners.
Yeah, which to my mind really was a bit pointless, not giving up the corner. I think he should have actually given up that corner a bit easier to Nigel, being a teammate and also having something wrong with his car. I mean, he's obviously not going to have the pace of Nigel.
Well, remember, we have 2 star drivers here who want to stamp their authority on a situation, and if Mario moved over, it might set the wrong precedent for the rest of the season.
Well,
yeah, but he has got an excuse of a wing missing.
Now it's getting interesting. The second fuel stop should be around laps 42 through 46. We're now on lap 40.
Well, what we need now really is a yellow incident. You know, that would really make it interesting.
So the battle of the pit lane, that's going to be sensational. All the crews will be really G'd up. Their drivers have worked so hard to get into this position, particularly Mansell's crew. They've had all sorts of problems that they didn't expect. He's fought his way back. They've also got Mario to think of. He's sitting right in behind them. Gee, the tension over there would be unbelievable. As you watch Emerson Fittipaldi now coming back on the Gold Coast Highway straight. He'll blast his way down through Raul Bosell.
That is Bosell, who's running in 9th place, so he is well in the top 10. Emerson needs to get by him because there is Gordon. That black car has been in the attack mode all afternoon here. But look at Emerson. Oh, he gets her sideways. He didn't get by Bosell as easily as he wanted to. In fact, they're both Brazilian here, so we need a bit of country courtesy, but he needs to get by because there is the menacing Gordon again.
Gee, he's doing a great job, isn't he, Derek? I mean, he's just been there, and I tell you what, Emerson won't be able to make the slightest little mistake, and he'll be on him at 100 mile an hour. He is very impressive.
You're absolutely right. Miles maketh the man, and racing Miles under your belt is the greatest thing he could get at the moment. We see Emerson does get by Bosell, but Gordon is getting a huge amount of experience. in this race so far.
Emerson Fittipaldi, you can see Gordon in there. That's the gap between 1 and 2. There's Gary Brabham just in the shot there, and Scotty Brayton. Now we're looking for Nigel Mansell. So he's coming onto the straight, and I would think then, by estimation, they would have been about 2/3 of the way up. So that's the position on the road. Mario Andretti in behind Nigel Mansell. Remember, driving without that front wing, so the car's not handling the way he would like. Dropped back off a little bit off Mansell now, but doing a sterling job, staying in touch with his teammate Mansell, considering the problem that he's got at the moment.
Mansell is now 18 seconds behind Emerson, so he really isn't reeling him in that fast. So the only thing that can help him now is a full course yellow situation or a problem with Emerson and a problem with Gordon.
Of course, Paul Tracy we saw slowed down again, so we're not quite sure what happened to that car, but you know, it's had two major problems. That must be in the back of Emerson Fittipaldi's mind. It certainly would be in the back of the crew chief's mind. He'd be trying to isolate the problem to let Emerson know he's A-OK and probably won't happen to him.
Interesting situation here. Emerson comes up on another Penske. That's Tony Bettenhausen's car, driven by Stefan Johansson. Bettenhausen is a customer of Penske this year. That's a 93 car with a Chevrolet C engine. But in fairness to Johansson, he had virtually no practice or qualifying here because of persistent gearbox problems. He went out looking for a machine shop on the Gold Coast last night. 10 o'clock last night, the mechanic arrived back with the parts to fix the gearbox. And obviously, they've been reliable.
In 12th place, Johansson. Blue smoke coming off the tyres.
That was Mark Smith and another Penske. Lots of Penskes in this field, but look at Gordon. He is it sideways again. Never gives up, trying everything he knows to catch Emerson.
So he must get through Johansson first. Bosell in front of Johansson.
Derek, I've just been looking at Gordon, and his head seems to be moving around a little bit more. Now, whether that's a sign that he's starting to get a little bit tired, but the helmet is definitely starting to move a little bit from side to side.
Well, that is one of the very first muscles to go, or the muscles in your neck, because remember, you have the helmet sits up there high, and left and right G-forces, your neck can get tired, and this probably is as stiff a test for Robbie Gordon. Remember also, the very first race of the year, you're not really physically race fit as you will be towards the middle or the end of the year, because you've been away for the winter time. No matter how much work you do in the gym, you really can't simulate what actually happens in the racing car.
Emerson Fittipaldi due to go in any time now, we would think. He's gone past pit lane this time round, but we're thinking. Now here's the retirements for you. On lap 35, Buddy Lazaire went out with suspension problems. Rico is out through an accident, fuel through transmission problems. Vassar had the accident. You saw all that happen here. So they're the retirements so far. But as I said, Emerson Fittipaldi went past the pits. We saw a signal hanging out, so we're not sure if it's next time or the one after that, but he's due in shortly.
And of course, what's going to happen then is going to hand the lead back to Mansell, because Gordon will also have to stop. So at any time between now and the end of the race, the yellow flag possibilities still could help Mansell. Now, Emerson has been in traffic, Mansell has been clear, and Mansell took a huge chunk off Emerson's lead, because now he's just under 14 seconds behind Fittipaldi.
Grabbing 4 seconds back, Nigel Mansell. We saw Emerson Fittipaldi coming up on Bobby Rahal. He was in front of him, disappointing Rahal out here at the moment with the new car. Of course, he's the defending champion, has been back on the grid, and that's him in front of Emerson Fittipaldi in car number 1. So Fittipaldi, will he come in this time as he makes his way around that Breaker Street area? Bobby Rahal goes through, gets around there. Paul Tracy still in trouble with that car, just limping around.
Yeah, well, he's not coming in. I don't think he's going too quick, so he's obviously on for another lap.
So Emerson Fittipaldi, look down on pit lane. There it is there. Makes his way down. He is led now for 31 laps of the 43, Fittipaldi.
Derek, in Indianapolis racing, they get so much money and what have you for every lap's led. Is that the same situation in the circuit racing?
No, it's not. No, there is money for qualifying on the pole. There is a bonus system, but you do not get lap-led money in most of the races.
Well, looking out here now out the window, Robbie Gordon's crew is ready. They're waiting for him to come in. I can't really see any activity down around. We're looking at little Al's crew are there. But Emerson Fittipaldi's crew not ready yet. But certainly Robbie Gordon due to come in. His crew is set. The tyres are set.
Sometimes the race can fall your way. Now Emerson is on schedule for his stop here. He will take fuel and tires and go to the end of the race. It could fall to Mansell's way if a yellow flag comes out. I hope it doesn't, because you like to see these races won or lost on the racetrack. But Gordon and Emerson have done a superb job so far.
Okay, watching Robbie Gordon come around now, 3.17 seconds back. His crew standing by, Blount's down with the tyres ready, so expect him to come in this time round. Emerson Fittipaldi, we expect to go past the pits.
I think Emerson, if anything, has widened that gap between himself and Gordon now. Whether Gordon's just conserving a bit of fuel or I don't know.
Well, in fact, you're right. It's just over 3 seconds, 3.1 seconds the last time he flew by us here. But now Emerson is down the pit lane, flat in 5th gear, and jumps on the brakes and hopes he has a good, efficient pit stop.
All right, so Fittipaldi now in the pits. They attack. Robbie Gordon's also in the pits. Both now, it's a race again between the two pit crews. Now, what happened last time? Robbie Gordon's crew got him out quicker, but because Emerson is right down near the exit of pit lane, he got out quicker.
Robbie Gordon saying, come on, quick, quick, quick. He will have seen Emerson go out of the pits.
Oh, Gordon's in trouble. He's going to lose a lot of time here. Much longer pit stop than Emerson. And Emerson is already 15 seconds up the road.
Well, break your heart. He's driven his heart out. The youngster to keep in touch, and he's lost a lot of time there in the pits. They waited for so long for him to come in. But now he's got to get back up the race speed, get those tyres heated up again. And Emerson Fittipaldi doing it pretty well. They went in. Very professional Penske team that time round.
Getting very twitchy on cold tyres as he feeds the power in. His blood pressure will be up a little bit now, because he'll be a little bit annoyed that he's lost that time in the pits.
So there's Emerson Fittipaldi on the road. We'll look for Nigel Mansell. We'll get a count on the gap between them now and bring you up to date.
Oh, look at this. Fabi comes down the end, tries to squeeze inside Fittipaldi. Doesn't get it done. Remember, Fittipaldi on cold tyres, Fabi on warm tyres. Fabi will have to make another pit stop, though, but he tries to slide down the inside of Emerson.
Well, this battle's going on all around this circuit. Gasoline alley or pit lane on the back part of the circuit. Up in the chicanes, there's little private wars happening all over the place.
See, the problem is when you come out on cold tyres like that, you really can't afford to let the guy behind you who's on warm tyres get in front of you, because as soon as your tyres warm up, he will then hold you up. So you've got to drive defensively and keep him behind you until you get the warmth in your tyres.
Well, here we go now. We've got Nigel Mansell leading from Mario Andretti, from Emerson Fittipaldi, and then, of course, from Robbie Gordon. So that's now what we need to do is get some gaps for you, but they're the top four.
Well, Mansell will be thinking to himself, I really have to try and now build up as big a cushion as I possibly can, because if they don't hold out any yellow flag situations, I'm possibly going to have to make it. Whoa, Eddie Cheever under brakes.
Eddie Cheever, just teammates, and almost collected one. Guerrero, I think it was.
What a way to make up two positions. Lost it under braking, realized no hope of making it around the corner. Here it is again. Now watch it. He's in trouble already. In trouble. Looks like he's locked the rear brakes a little bit. Now look, he can't make the corner. Look! Up over the sand trap, sticks his foot down, and makes two positions.
Derek can't have a specific rule about gaining positions or time by using off-road tactics. Now, what will happen there? Will they stop and start him, or...?
I think in a situation like that, where he was out of control and needed to save his life and the car, they'll probably just let it go.
Barry Shin in the pits.
Yeah, I was just talking to Robbie Gordon's lot, and apparently he was gesticulating that there was something wrong with the front of the car, but I think... all they wanted to do was get him out of the pits. He was saying, there's something wrong with the front, something wrong with the front.
It was a slow stop, though, Barry, slow stop.
Yeah, I know, slow stop, but, you know, they were obviously talking. He was obviously telling them there was something wrong somewhere with the front of the car, I could see him sort of pointing at. But I honestly don't know what it is.
Eddie Cheever in the pits now, right in front of us. Plenty of action happening here, and pit lane pretty busy at the moment. Now, Emerson Fittipaldi, he's back in third spot, trying to whittle away after his stop now. Back on Nigel Mansell. Mario Andretti is in second spot. He needs to come in for his stop shortly, and of course to get that wing In fact, is he in? He's in now. Mario Andretti is in the pits. So it's all changing here by the second.
Now, are they going to have time to put that? No, they're not. They're going to leave it the way it is.
Yeah, he would lose more time by actually trying to replace that wing than he would lose by just leaving the car as it is and get back out on the racetrack and just do the best job you can.
Derek, that surprises me because the pit stops aren't that quick. I mean, obviously, you would think they would have a means of detaching that one-piece nose and wing section very quickly and whacking a new one on because, let's face it, they are very vulnerable.
Oh, well, they are. The problem is it's the wing pole that goes right between them. You see, that is not a bolt-on nose cone. That's actually part of the chassis, which is part of the crash structure that CART stipulates you must have. So you can't easily just take the nose cone and wings off these cars. But you're right. It is such a vulnerable area, you would think it would be easier.
Well, tension building now, yeah. What you're putting down there because Nigel Mansell is now being chased again by Fittipaldi. And what's the difference there now?
The difference is 27 seconds. Emerson is behind Fittipaldi, and Mario is 36 seconds now. Well, that was actually shown on the last lap, so he's a lot further back now. But Emerson, remember, he knows Mansell has to make another stop, so he's not too worried about it.
And so does Nigel, so I think he'll be really pulling out everything to increase that gap, hoping that, well, if there's no more yellows, I've got to put plenty of air between me and Emerson, so when I come in for fuel, hopefully I won't lose the lead.
We just saw Robbie Gordon really attack that chicane again, so if he thought he had a problem with the front of the car, I don't think he's got a problem there now. He really hit the curb at a pretty rapid rate and lifted the wheel up as he did it. Looking at Mansell coming into traffic. He's now back in front. What a fascinating race. This lead has changed, what, 5 or 6 times?
Great racing, and pit stops, of course, really spice up racing. You know, they carry 40 gallons of fuel. That's about the same as an F1 car. But the reason they can't go anywhere near as far is because they only do 1.7 to 1.8 miles to the gallon. Therefore, you've got to have 3 full tanks before you can actually make the full 200 miles or whatever it is.
So as we look down on the streets of the Gold Coast for the concrete canyons here, we'll be back shortly. Stay with us right around Australia. Here on the Gold Coast this afternoon, Mansell, Fittipaldi, Gordon, Andretti, Lyondike, and Bobby Rahal. Gee, old Mr. Consistency, he's back up there at the top. He fights his way back. We'll be looking for Gary Brabham shortly on the circuit for you, the Australian driver making his first appearance here. Great shots here, though, from our chopper as you look down on this fabulous circuit. Big, big crowd right around here in attendance. The Queenslanders, in fact, Australians, have turned out in force as we look down on Fittipaldi, frantically chasing Nigel Mansell, and from what we've been told from Barry Sheen, that Mansell's going to try and stay out for as long as he possibly can to come in for his last stop, or his next fuel stop.
And it goes back to the numbers that we mentioned earlier on his steering wheel, 37.1. That means 37.1 gallons. When he has used that amount, and his digital readout will tell him that, when he has used that amount, he has no choice but to go to the pit lane because he cannot safely do another complete lap.
And Derek, presumably what they'll do is put whatever's left in the gravity-fed tank into his car, but that will take a little slower because he won't have the weight of the fuel to get it in as quickly.
Exactly. The first load of fuel is always the fastest to go in because of the pressure of 40 gallons in the tank, or the pressure of the fuel that's in the tank. And it's so frustrating when you have to sit there because the flow is slower and slower the less fuel that's in the tank.
So Nigel Mansell returns to the script of motor racing that he writes so well. Took pole here under fantastic circumstances. He read the weather conditions early that were horrendous through Cyclone Roger. Played the game on the wet and dry tracks. Came out this morning, had major problems. Yesterday afternoon they put new turbos, new engines, all sorts of things on the car. He's been in and out of the pits, but at the moment leading, but with a crucial stop to come. So this story is yet to be told in full. 15 laps to go, so it's now getting really into the critical stages.
Mansell has had more gear changes now this afternoon than he's had in the last 4 years of racing because he's been used to these automatic gearboxes. This morning after the warm-up, he looked at his hands. They were both very raw, red and tender, and he didn't have bandages on them, but he said he would for the race. But his very tender hand is one of the problems he has to cope with changing gear and hanging onto this steering wheel.
Yes, of course, that break in his foot that he's carried for the last 18 months of his Grand Prix racing career was fixed with an operation some months ago, and he said to us through the week in an interview that we've put to air this afternoon that he's, for the first time in that time, he's now free of pain. He feels more comfortable, but he hasn't used that foot because of the automatic gearboxes that he's been used to. So he's working a lot of muscles that he hasn't worked for a lot of years.
That's definitely his favourite place to pass. I mean, he comes out of that chicane so quick, and he lines them up and gets them on the left-hander, or on the inside of the left-hander. But the other thing Nigel will be missing, and it must be fabulous, is not to be able to take the hands off the steering wheel, to be able to change gears by pressing buttons on that steering wheel, particularly on a street circuit, because you can go into the tight chicanes, the tight hairpins, and keep the hand on the wheel at all times. So he's now getting back to learning to take the hand off the wheel to make gear changes.
And believe it or not, when you have an automatic gearbox like they have in Formula One, it's not the changing the gear that is actually cut in half. That's not the big time saver. It's actually, as you say, keeping the hand on the wheel. Here we have now good shots of Gary Brabham, local hometown hero here. Not only the eyes of Australia, but the eyes around the world now watching Gary as he waves the flag for Australia in IndyCar racing.
And isn't he doing a good job? 14th position, he hasn't done anything wrong, no spins, no up the escape roads. He's probably doing everything that's been asked of him.
Well, he came here and he said, if I can finish in the top 15, I will be very, very happy. If I can finish in the top 10, it will be a major bonus. But Gary, I think, is a good example of a racing driver businessman. He's had his briefcase in his hand for so long trying to put this effort together, and I believe it was Split Cycle and PM Lubricants who eventually decided that they would back an Australian man to come here and race at the Gold Coast.
Well, Derek, it means a lot to people around Australia because since Alan Jones left the Formula One scene, we haven't had an international competitor. Of course, different on the 500cc motorcycles, but in four-wheel racing, unfortunately, it's been a drought since AJ gave it away. So it's a wonderful shot in the arm for Australian racing to see, and with a name like Brabham, the tradition continues here.
And with an Australian sponsor. You know, that's what it's all about, and there should be more of it.
And Jonesy, that's something you didn't have. I mean, while you were overseas, in all fairness to the people around Australia, you did it on your own. You always had an Australian flag on your driving suit. I can remember coming over to Monaco and watching a race there, talking to you there, and that was long before anybody was taking a lot of notice of you.
Well, good on Split Cycle, because, I mean, there's a lot of people around the world watching this event, and that's going to bring the name of Split Cycle to all of them. All right, let's now cross over to Barry in the pit lane for some news.
Yeah, AJ, Nigel's coming in 2 laps, well, it should be about a lap and a half now, and he's interested. He's not going to take on new tyres. He's coming for fuel, but he's not going to have new tyres, even though they're taking the tyres out. By the looks of it, let's have a little look here. I don't think you'll find they'll end up putting them on because there's a couple of scrubbed-in ones and a couple of ones that look really new. So don't be at all surprised if he doesn't take tyres on.
The reason he won't take the tyres on, obviously, is he wants these nice, warm, hot tyres. He'll be much faster out of the pit lane. And also, Barry, he only has less than half a tank of fuel left to put in. He'll put that in much quicker than the guys can probably change 4 tyres. And also, it's always a risk when you actually change tyres that something could go wrong.
Yeah, you're right. Plus the fact, as we've said for the last couple of days, his allergy to getting the tyres to come in for about 7 laps.
Well, he only has 13 laps to go. Yeah. He's got 36 seconds on Fittipaldi, and he probably reckons that if he puts new tyres on, he'd waste 4 or 5 getting heat into them. So he's going to be something to watch when he puts fuel in that car.
You know, it's a bit confusing standing down here looking, because the guys are not sure whether he wants tyres or not. There's the guys standing out here with the jacks, and somebody's telling them to bring the jack back in, and he's standing there. So your guess is as good as mine, but I don't think he's going to put any tyres on.
Well, we could have a real shootout here. He is in now because 36 seconds is actually almost enough time to put enough fuel in that car, get him out, and he actually could keep the lead. So this could be a real shootout from here on.
Okay, let's have a look. No tyres, just fuel. Mansell's out with a quick one, smokes his tyres up. Now this is the most critical part of the race. Where's Fittipaldi? He had a 36-second lead. Nigel Mansell going into that stop. He had to drive down to the pit lane. He's going to get up the race speed again, looking for Fittipaldi.
Oh, no, I tell you, he's won the race. If he hasn't had any bad luck now, that was a great stop, and he's still got the heat retained in the tyres. They should last the 12 laps that's left. he's looking good.
Exactly. Emerson did not get close enough. Look at this. We only have 9 laps left. Mansell is a long, long way up the road. So Emerson, I don't think he's going to catch him unless Mansell falls or trips over some trouble.
Well, everything's shaping up here to a fabulous finish of this really wonderful race at Surfers Paradise. Stay with us. Back shortly for the closing stages. 55 of 65, a nail-biter here on the Gold Coast. Mansell, Fittipaldi, Gordon, Andretti, Lyondike, Bobby Rail, and he's being challenged by Eddie Cheever. You're looking at there with the black car with the red numbers. Bobby Rahal sitting behind Fittipaldi. There's a real dice going on here, and Bobby Rail's climbing all over the back of Fittipaldi. He doesn't want to know about that at the moment because he's in second place. Now you're looking out of Bobby Rahal's car. He's chasing Emerson Fittipaldi, and Eddie Cheever climbing all over him.
Well, of course, Cheever and Rahal are dicing for 6th and 7th place, but I am confused why Rahal is staying so close to Fittipaldi.
Well, if Cheever is hounding him, he's got to try and get away from him. And for whatever reason, he's running as fast, if not a tiny bit faster than Emerson. Now he's drawn out a bit of room here. But Rahal and Cheever, that is a battle for position.
Of course, Rahal is 1 lap down.
As is Cheever. But it's Cheever who's Rahal's worried about, not necessarily Emerson.
Of course, everybody chasing points in this championship chase for the crown. Bobby Rahal is the defending champion, so he's looking for points, and it's something that he does in most times he gets in a race car. Now you ride down the Gold Coast Highway, hook it down this short straight, up through the gearbox now. Be hard on the brakes, you come down onto the Gold Coast beachfront. There it is there, just missing the walls as they crush them. Now the drag up through the gearbox around about 180 mile an hour and 2 chicanes to negotiate.
Derek, the fact that Bobby Rahal is a lap down and is now virtually staying with Emerson, would Emerson be using a little less throttle or whatever to conserve a bit of fuel?
Well, he could be. I mean, we just saw the graphic earlier. Mansell is 20 seconds up the road. Emerson knows there is no way he can outdrive or drive this car hard or make up that deficit. Maybe he is content with just having that a nice, secure second place.
Well, fellas, some great news for Australia. Brabham now 13th, only 1 place out of points. 1 place out of points for Gary Brabham. That's good.
Gee, wouldn't that be great to get some points in his first race?
So hats off Australia to Gary Brabham. Actually, Derek Daly, what he said was really right. I've watched him at Indianapolis. I watched him at Laguna Seca last year, running around the pit lane with his briefcase, trying to do the best deal he could with anybody that would talk to him. And even here this weekend, he's been entertaining sponsors. He's been putting stickers on the car. It's been a great effort.
It has been a great effort. Of course, his problem after this weekend's over is his great effort may stop, because I don't believe he has a deal to run or to continue running with Dick Simon, although Dick Simon is now one of Gary Brabham's biggest fans because he went so fast in pre-season testing. But I don't believe they have the backing to try and secure a continuation contract for Gary, which would be most unfortunate.
Absolutely correct. They've really been trying to get people here on the Gold Coast, big business in Queensland. Anybody in Australia would listen, and if there's anybody watching this race out there, you want to help an Australian stay in international motorsport, this is the way you can do it. He's proven today that he can run with the good ones, and all he needs now is a bit of Aussie money to keep him there.
Harry Lyondike hoping for a good run here. He's had it good so far. Look at him crash over the top of those curbs. He was spectacular in qualifying. Currently running in 5th position, the same as he qualified. He made the biggest improvement during qualifying. He went from 15th on Friday to 5th on Saturday. Worked with Mo Nunn, who's an engineer known to some of the Formula One fraternity. Had his own team, Team Ensign, back in the 70s. But Harry Lyondike, so successful and so fast on super speedways, now hoping for a good start to the season with the Chip Ganassi Lola and a Ford engine, basically the same package as Mansell and Mario Andretti are in.
Nigel Mansell out in front at the moment. Well, everybody expected in Australia, I think, because of the way that we've watched this man move through the ranks of Formula One and take the Formula One World Drivers' crown, that he would get in the car and instantly be, see you later, I'm gone. That hasn't been the case. He has had to work extremely hard to be in that position now.
Well, the beautiful part about this racing is it really does show up the man's talent. I mean, you can't say, oh, yeah, but he's got active suspension and carbon brakes and automatic transmissions and all the rest of it. He hasn't. He's got virtually what everyone else has got, and he's doing the job.
You're absolutely right, and I think Mansell never ever wanted a major advantage in a car. He had so much confidence in himself and his ability that all he ever needs, he says, is an equal car. And I think in an equal car today, you just see how good and how talented the current world champion is. Oh, Robbie Gordon gets her a little bit sideways, a little switch coming through onto the back straight.
Back shortly with all of the action from Surfers Paradise. Fittipaldi, Gordon, Andretti, Lyondike, Bobby Rahal, and now Gary Brabham slipping back a place, and that's him in front of Nigel Mansell now.
Yeah, and Mansell's still the quickest man on the circuit. He's got quite a good buffer between him and Emerson, but he's still wheeling in very quick laps.
He's actually 17 seconds ahead of Emerson, so Emerson has closed down very, very slightly, but Mansell has this thing totally in control, and that is Gary Brabham in the blue and white car right ahead of him. So if Mansell gets by him, Gary will see the master at work for a couple of laps.
Yeah, and I think he'd tag in and see what he could learn the way that Mansell goes through various parts of the circuit. He'd be very proud of himself, I would think. As you mentioned earlier, Derek, he said, if I could finish in the top 15, I think I've done the job as well as I could do it under the circumstances. So he's still inside that area of 15, maybe dropping back one place, but Mansell coming up very, very quickly.
Now, I hope it really doesn't happen, because I'm with you, Derek. I'd rather see the man win the race on the road. But this is the part of Indy racing which can get very, very exciting. Now, for whatever reason, if we had a yellow situation now, you'd have Emerson Fittipaldi right behind him, and it would literally be a 4 or 5 lap sprint race after all this time.
Well, that's right, but of course they won't throw the yellow flag just to create a good race. They will only throw the yellow flag if there is a dangerous situation on the racetrack. Mansell is currently doing 1 minute 43s, so he is slowing a little because Fittipaldi is running about 2 seconds a lap faster in the 41s, but Mansell in total control here.
Nigel Mansell weaving through the traffic, and this is the time, AJ, that you're saying to yourself, I don't want to get close to anybody. I've waited a long time. He's done it through taking pole. I've got into a new class of racing. I'm now leading the race. I've got Fittipaldi at a fair cushion behind me, but there are still a lot of cars out on the racetrack. We haven't had the attrition rate that we thought we would have. 15.5 is the gap. So a lot of cars still there.
Oh, absolutely, but you know, Nigel knows full well there's only 4 laps to go. I mean, even if he was just a cruise around, Emerson wouldn't be able to catch him, let alone pass him. But you're right, this is the time of the race where you say, what was that noise? What's that little noise I can hear in the back? And you start imagining all these little things that can go wrong because you're so close.
That battle between Bobby Rahal and Eddie Cheever is continuing.
And look at Robbie Gordon. He appeared in our picture sideways as ever. He is closing down on Emerson. So Emerson is not really running as fast as he was earlier. Behind him is Rahal. Rahal has a look down the inside. Oh, he doesn't squeeze through, but look at Cheever. That is a battle for position.
No doubt about that. And Robbie Gordon now right on the tail of those two. He wants to get a shot at Emerson Fittipaldi. So the drive of the excitement continues here. Cheever and Rahal are having their own private battle for 6th and 7th spot.
See, Emerson can't enjoy the luxury of saying, all right, you two, get on with it and leave me alone because I'm in 2nd place, because he knows if he does that, Gordon's going to be chopping at him.
And that's the battle for 2nd and 3rd. So there's a lot of excitement left here yet.
What a huge carrot to hang out to Robbie Gordon with so few laps left. 2nd place is only 15 yards, 20 yards up the road. He can still make a serious charge at Emerson.
Well, Rahal and Cheever aren't going to move over because they're having their own private battle for 6 and 7. Points very vital here. Can Robbie Gordon get past them down this fast part of the circuit here, going into the chicane? Lap 62, they're on now. So again, Bobby Rahal closes right up behind Emerson Fittipaldi. Fittipaldi goes through there now. Eddie Cheever closes up at Gordon saying, give me a shot at him for 2nd.
Emerson looks like, I don't know, he looks like he might be in a little bit of brake problem, because look at Bobby's waving his fist at him. I mean, he's definitely got longer legs down the straight, but when they get into the braking area, Bobby's climbing all over him.
Exactly. Rahal now showing his frustration. He knows he's being held up. It's giving Cheever an opportunity, but Gordon, I think, is the one that may pounce. But remember, Gordon has to get by Cheever, and Cheever will not make that easy, because then he'll have little he'll have a problem trying to get by Rahal. Cheever and Rahal are in a battle for 6th and 7th position.
You look at Rahal under brakes. Look, he just cuts out that 4 or 5 car advantage that Emerson got up the straight, and he sits right up now. This is going to be interesting because we're just getting out of the straight situation. We're going into the corner part of the circuit where all the corners are, and Bobby will be climbing all over it.
Robbie Gordon frustratingly trying to get past Eddie Cheever.
Gordon needs to make sure, though, that he doesn't make a mistake. Remember, he has a podium finish. It's a traffic jam under heavy braking here.
So we've seen Bobby Rahal shaking fists at Emerson Fittipaldi saying, let me through. Eddie Cheever climbing all over him. He wants 6th spot. And Robbie Gordon in the other black car, the 4th car of that train, he wants a shot at Emerson.
Great run here by Cheever, a new team, Turley Motorsports, backed by FAI here, just as the whole race weekend is. But Cheever doing an excellent job in a car that he really has not had very much running in.
Robbie Gordon went past his pits then, waving his hand around. I don't know what that's about now, whether he's waving at the guys in front of him or he's trying to signal the pits, but he was definitely had his hand out of the cockpit waving.
Well, for sure he's waving at Cheever and Rahal, because he knows that is what's going to stop him from making a realistic, legitimate attack on Emerson.
Emerson Fittipaldi has 1 championship point for the most laps led. Now, what's this again?
Yeah, he said, look, get them out of my way. Get them out of my way. I can attack Emerson. I need a fair shot at getting this 2nd place. Total frustration for Robbie Gordon.
63 or 65. Well, graphic stuff there from Robbie Gordon, waving and saying to the marshal, give me a go. Tell him to get out of the way.
Well, in fairness to them, Alan, they can't move out of the way. I mean, they have their own battle going on here. There's really not a whole lot you can do about this situation, even though those cars are being lapped. I don't think that you can just ask them to move over and get out of the way.
Oh, 100% correct. I mean, they've got their own race to run. They've got their own points to gain. I mean, there's no way or reason why they should just simply move over for him.
A normal lapping situation, they would. You would expect them to move aside. But when they're in this private battle that is absolute hammer and tongs here, I'm sorry, this is just a racing situation you have to cope with.
And of course Emerson is quite happy to hold Bobby Rahal up a bit because he knows that's holding Robbie Gordon up a bit.
Exactly. Emerson has the luxury of having this battle behind him. You're right, it's a protection for him.
So 2 laps to go. The interest now, Nigel Mansell looks to have it wrapped up with 2 laps to go. But this man, the 4th car in this train here, Robbie Gordon, desperately trying to get in touch with Emerson Fittipaldi. But he's got to get past Rahal and Cheever to do that.
Look out for Eddie to try and pull a big one in the next lap or so.
Well, remember, he made 2 positions earlier by going straight over the top of the chicane. That is probably his final desperation move.
Fascinating stuff now. This is out of Bobby Rahal's car down the Gold Coast Highway. Emerson Fittipaldi in front of him. Eddie Cheever sitting right behind him. Robbie Gordon in behind him. So what you're looking at, a 2nd, 6th, 7th and 3rd. Sounds crazy, but it's right.
What a great race here. I mean, hard all day long, and in the very last closing lap, you still have battles like this going on all around the racetrack. This really has been a trademark of IndyCar racing over the last couple of years.
Mansell, his lead down to 12 seconds.
Mansell's cruising home. He will know exactly where Emerson Fittipaldi is, and he is going to bring that car home in the slowest time, not the quickest.
Look at this. Cheever locks up going through the chicane. Gordon slices by. Now he has to get by Rahal, and maybe only he can have an attack or a legitimate attempt at Fittipaldi.
Well, it's a big ask because he's got to get past Rahal, then he's got to catch Fittipaldi, and then he has to pass him.
But has he been fantastic, this fellow? I mean, he electrified us with his form in qualifying and practice, and his racecraft has been great. Well, we're on the last lap. Mansell, a rookie winner. A rookie winner first time up. If he gets there, he's not home yet.
It's never ever happened in the history of IndyCar racing that a first-time person gets the pole and wins the race.
Well, that's interesting because, AJ, didn't you get a 3rd place first time up, which gave you a rookie placing?
Yeah, I think the record, I think there's been Eddie Cheever and Stefan Johansson and myself. It's we've got 3rd place first time out in an IndyCar, and that was the record, but Nigel's blown us all away.
Well, you did win 2 trophies today, so a record going away is not too bad.
That'll do me.
Winding down, last lap action now. Nigel Mansell, won it from pole if he gets home. There he is now. He would just savour this moment. He's had to contend with a lot of people around the world knocking him for the equipment he's been driving. Fast race, just 1 hour, 52 minutes at this stage they've been running.
Gordon's going to make one last attempt at trying to get by Rahal here. That's Robbie Gordon.
Doesn't blow it.
All over him. Mansell over the chicane again. Less than half a lap to go for Mansell.
Interesting last year, 92, the race was 2 hours, 20 minutes, 32 seconds. 91, 2 hours, 12 minutes, 54 seconds. But a lot of yellow flag stuff there. Right, here we go for the battle. Now look at Robbie Gordon. He's close right up on Emerson Fittipaldi now.
He has half a lap to do it. Half a lap to take that second place from Emerson.
Gary Brabham there on the circuit, but we want to see the action between Emerson Fittipaldi and Robbie Gordon as they're going to streak down here in that last half lap. Waiting for Nigel Mansell, takes the win. Mansell wins first time out in IndyCar racing. Now waiting for second place.
Yeah, Emerson held on, but gee, what a great late charge by Gordon.
Oh, he's exciting new talent. Fantastic talent. Now this crowd, they'll warm to Mansell for his win. By geez, had to work for it all weekend long. It wasn't easy.
It wasn't easy, but you have to say congratulations to Mansell on a job so well done to come in to a totally new and different environment, a different discipline, a different racing car, and perform as well as he did.
I think you also have to congratulate Robbie Gordon too.
I think he's out of fuel. I don't think he's going to make it all the way back, but his winning margin was 5.1 seconds. And look at this. Mansell is out of fuel.
Unbelievable. He's only just come over. Look at him waving to the crowd here. There are the British flags. The Union Jacks are flying the red 5. And there are fans that have come all the way from Europe here in plane loads to see their hero. They won't see him in Formula 1, but they're here in Australia to see him do this, win.
Yeah, well, it's not hard to tell what's going to be on the BBC and the Times tomorrow.
Oh, he's been great with the fans. I tell you what, he spent a lot of time with them. I spent some time with him this week, and he has been signing hats and shirts, and towels and posters and anything else.
There is no doubt, though, he will overshadow what was a spectacular performance by Robbie Gordon.
Well, when you look at this, Mansell less than 1 kilometre beyond the finish, he's run out of petrol. Well, we're assuming that's what's happened. He would certainly have drive around the circuit to acknowledge the flag, so he really got it down to the very last drop of fuel. The fire-protected clothing coming off now. Nigel Mansell, crowd absolutely going mad, the officials and flag people. There goes the traditional Nomex hood that he wears, the fire hood. He's throwing it up into the crowd. He might throw the suit, the boots, the hat, and the lot, I think.
I think the helmet went at the British Grand Prix.
Well, the last time he did all that, he actually retired from racing. Now, you tell me his foot isn't sore after that operation?
Well, Nigel limping after the big win here. They're going to put him back into the car, I think, to get it back home.
That's the trademark victory limp.
No, he's going to walk away. He's so excited about this wonderful moment from Nigel Mansell. He's going to get it up into the pickup truck to go back to the area of the podium. And this big crowd are certainly giving him an Aussie salute. The Super Brit has come out, won pole, won the race, first time round in IndyCar racing. He had to fight for it, and what a wonderful spectacle it's been. And all that, to me, Derek Daly says, you are in for one super year.
Well, Nigel has raised everybody's standards in IndyCar racing since he came here, and this victory will only spur the teams and the drivers to raise their performance or their level of performance even higher. The eyes of the world are on IndyCar racing at the moment. They can only do everybody a power of good.
Well, full credit to Carl Haas. He's done it again. He's given Nigel the equipment that he needed to do the job. I mean, he really does run a fantastic team. And Robbie Gordon, I mean, I just can't speak highly enough about him. The third place, drove very professionally, drove like a seasoned veteran. And his car control, well, I just think it's fantastic.
Recapping this beautiful event up here, Mansell, Fittipaldi, Gordon, Andretti, Lyondike and Bobby Rail. They were the top 6 places for you. The painted faces, the Union Jacks, the crowd acknowledging their superhero, Nigel Mansell, on a fantastic win. There they are, the painted faces, and there's plenty of them.
There's Mansell in the safety crew. He has an enormous number of supporters. Look at Eddie Cheever, piggyback on the back of Stefan Johansson's car. So Cheever also out of fuel, but Cheever had I would have thought, a very satisfying run. And I'm sure Johansson is delighted that after all the gearbox problems he had earlier in the week, actually managed to finish the race.
Yeah, I think if you would have spoke to Stefan Johansson before the race, Derek, he probably would have told you that he wasn't very confident of finishing because he did have a really bad run. All right, let's go down to Barry Sheene in pit lane.
Robbie, fantastic drive, but the other two guys getting a little bit wide there for the last 10 or so laps.
Yeah, unfortunately, we had that lap traffic there. I think I could have caught him. You know, the last corner I made a good run at him, but it wasn't enough time. One more lap, I'm sure we would have had him.
We saw you waving your arm. What were you trying to do? Get him to get out of the way?
Yeah, I waved my arm for 3 or 4 laps. You know, lap traffic's supposed to move out of the way, and Emerson was just right in front of me. You know, we were catching him 2 or 3 seconds a lap, just didn't have enough time.
All right, good race. Over to you, Charles.
Okay, well, Nigel makes his way back in the safety vehicle. That's being transported at Gary Brabham. We're looking at now. He should be very, very happy with himself. He didn't put a foot wrong, and considering the amount of experience and miles he's had behind an Indy car steering wheel, he has covered himself very well today, Derek.
Well, I think he has. Now the hard job is to continue this momentum, because a racing driver's career is all about momentum. Keep that momentum going, and hopefully Gary can keep himself in that seat. Now remember, he did not have anything near the machinery or the car or engine that everybody else had, or most of the people had here on the race. So I think Gary will go home from this weekend a very satisfied boy, that all the effort has been worth it. But look at Mansell, taking all the accolades a winner gets. He did a superb job, and you're absolutely right. The BBC and the Times and the world headlines again will herald the success of Mansell on his debut in IndyCar racing.
Well, that's right, because at the end of the day, you can't take it away from him. He's come to an IndyCar meeting, he's grabbed pole position and won the race. You can't do much better than that.
And he has created history doing it, and it's great to see it. I mean, we know how good he is. He is the world champion. He blew everybody away in F1. Why shouldn't he be successful here and win a lot of races? We saw that interview with Robbie Gordon earlier. You will see a lot more of him because he is so good. Michael Kranifus, who's the competitions director at Ford, thinks he is very like a Michael Schumacher, the same age, the same type of car control, and a huge impact when he comes into the races.
Well,
okay.
I've got to say I agree with him. You know, he is a real talent. There's no doubt about that.
Let's go down to the pit lane and Charles Stewart.
Emerson, congratulations on a great drive. Did you know what was going on behind you with Bobby Gordon trying to catch up with you?
Yes, I knew exactly where he was, and I know I was trying to save fuel. My team manager was keeping telling me, slow down in revs, and that was a shame. Even I couldn't challenge Nigel the last few laps because I really want to go for him. It was just frustrating.
Well, you're also keeping Bobby Rahal out there too. You're aware of that, I guess.
Yeah, Bob was 1 lap down anyway.
This is the second time you've come here and done extremely well, though. You must be very happy with it.
Well, I love here. I love this type of track, and we're flying beginning of the race, and then I just have to keep saving fuel.
Well, congratulations. Good start to the season.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Charles. Well, Mansell now obviously leads the championship. He has 22 points, and he gets extra points for pole and also the most laps led. Okay, now just to recap the positions: Nigel Mansell with 22 points, Emerson Fittipaldi 16, Robbie Gordon, terrific drive, 14, Mario Andretti, well, at the end of the day, he's brought it home in the points in 4th position. He's got 12, Ari Lyondike 10, and Bobby Rahal, Mr. Consistency, in 6th place, 8 points for his team.
And Mansell had a troubled run. Remember, he did make 3 pit stops to everybody else's 2. One of the good things he said when he moved to this team, that he inherited all of Michael Andretti's crew. The mechanics, everybody that made Michael so successful were there to help Nigel. And he says openly he is only a very small percentage of the success that he's had this weekend because he is in such a learning curve. They literally tell him what to do, how to do it, and he has to try and go out and do the best he can. But however, the best he can do was certainly good enough today. That's Peter Gibbons we watch here. His engineer was Michael's engineer last year and is probably a big part of the success this weekend.
Well, I can see Barry Sheene down there struggling to try and get an interview with Nigel.
What a drama. I mean, you couldn't have written a better script. You've been getting tips from Paul Newman.
Oh no, I'm hurting, Barry. My foot's got complete cramp in it, and the brake pedal was solid at the end, and I just can't. Well, what the heck, we won.
Are you happy?
Oh, happy. I was frightened stiff because going through the fast chicane on the last lap, I was running out of fuel, and coming out the last corner, the people up there will hear the engine was missing, and I thought, oh no, I'm not going to make it, and I made it.
And you did great.
The team did fantastic. All credit to the team and to all the spectators out. A big thank you for all the support. You're just absolutely fantastic, and it's the first win Australia. I can't say how happy I am.
And you know, it's a record. You're the first rookie ever to get pole position and to win.
Oh, really? Okay.
Barry, this is Alan. Ask him if he feels more tired than if he's ever finished a Formula One race.
Nigel, just one more thing. Do you feel more tired now than you have after Formula One races?
I am now at the moment because I drove 10/10ths all the way because I had to pit for another set of tyres. And I got a problem with my foot. The brake pedal's much harder than normal, and never mind, it'll be fine tomorrow.
You did great, Ace.
Well, I tell you what, I think he'd probably trade the sore foot and the sore hand all over again to get the same result, because it's a funny thing when you're in the cockpit of a car, Derek, you really can't feel pain at the time.
I can remember reading about Graham Hill one time, who actually had burns on the soles of his feet from the radiator heat coming back, and he was not aware of it because the adrenaline rushes so much, he wasn't aware of it until the end of the race. We see a similar situation here with Mansell, but the drama of the moment cannot be missed.
Look at Carl Haas. That's the co-owner of the Haas-Newman team. And
he's not going to give him a kiss, is he? No.
Well, I tell you one thing is unusual is to see Carl without a big cigar in his face.
Well, he couldn't get close enough to give Nigel a hug or a kiss.
Oh, there it is. No, he's got it.
He has it. He'll give Nigel one now.
Well, you know, it's obviously an Indy Kart rule that there's no smoking in the pits, quite obviously, but they allow Carl to keep the cigar in his face as long as he doesn't light it.
He's actually in the safety vehicle. That is where the doctors travel during these events. And Terry Trammell has told him to get back in to the vehicle, get off his feet. But of course now what Nigel wants to do is get up onto the victory rostrum and shake the well-earned bottle of champagne. He's currently doing an interview with Jack Root at ABC for obviously the American audience.
Well, there you are, some British fans, a lot of which have travelled all the way from England to see this. Some 60-odd journalists made their way after Kyle Army, after the South African Grand Prix, to see this. So, you know, a great result. Okay, let's now go to a commercial break and we'll be back soon with you.
Australia, what about acknowledging a fantastic race here this afternoon? Wow, what action in the first 15 laps. Of course, then the interesting pit battle after that and the lead up for the showdown of the last 10 laps. Well, before we go into the presentations, you'll have your chance to acknowledge our top 3 place getters. We have a lot of people to acknowledge. The Honourable Mr. Wayne Goss, MLA, Premier of Queensland, and Minister of the Economic Trade and Development and the Arts. One of our special guests here on the podium, Mr. Rodney Adler, Chief Executive of FAI, and haven't they done a fantastic job here to get this race up and running. Mr. Ron Richards, Chairman of the FAI Australian IndyCar Grand Prix. Mr. Bill Stokan, now Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of CART, and that man has done a lot of work to get this race here in Australia. And of course, Her Excellency, the Governor of Queensland, Miss Lenine Forday. Now, if I sound a bit hoarse, well, I've just come out of the commentary box. There's not much left. And of course, His Worship, the Mayor of the Gold Coast, Alderman Lex Bill. Now, I'd like to take this opportunity to invite the Premier just for a few words here. It's very, very important, a very important race here for Australia and, of course, the Gold Coast. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Wayne Goss.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Darryl. I just want to say thank you very much to more than 80,000 fans who've given us a record crowd here today. Thank you for your support. I want to thank FAI and all the sponsors who helped make it possible. And last but not least, I want to thank these 3 guys here, Nigel Mansell, Emerson Fittipaldi and Robbie Gordon. I want to thank first, second and third, all the other drivers and all the crews and the people who put together a tremendous event that's very worthy of the Gold Coast. It's been very well supported and has been a great success. Thank you, everybody.
Also, on behalf of the directors of the Gold Coast Indy Car Corporation, I mean, you've got to understand how hard these people have worked. Mr. Richards has been part of it. He's gone to Indianapolis. We were over there together this last year. He's been to most of the rounds now. He's looked at what's happened overseas, come back, feed all of that information into the Australian setup here, and of course, that's culminated in today's race. From the Gold Coast Indy people, Mr. Richards.
Thank you all for coming. This has been probably the most tremendous race we've had and one of the most exciting finishes. I hope we see you all here again in 1994. Thank you.
Well, Ron, you might just stay here with us because at the moment it's time to get on with the presentations. And in third place, a fellow that has just been absolutely sensational since he first hit the streets of Surfers Paradise. He's thrown the car around. The attitudes of the car have been great. And a fighting third place today, Robbie Gordon. In second place, a man who won here last year in such dramatic circumstances after that shower of rain that came down, and he took his teammate Rick Mears with just a few corners to go to win the race, Emerson Fittipaldi. Well, we've waited quite some time. We were all confused which way he was going to go, but before we give him the final trophy, we have from Philip Morris now to present Nigel Mansell with a Marlborough Racing travel bag. As Stuart Mallinson, Marketing Sales and Director of Philip Morris now, he has a very special cheque here. $15,000 from Philip Morris. Stuart Mallinson.
Thank you. Nigel, on behalf of the Marlborough Company, congratulations on an excellent race win, an excellent debut to the IndyCar races, and of course, on behalf of Marlborough, please accept this cheque with our congratulations.
Well, of course, it doesn't stop there. The $15,000, that special presentation from Philip Morris. I'd like to get Mr. Wayne Goss back up here again now, the Premier of Queensland, to proudly present the man who has driven so hard here today, the lead change so many times, his pit crew doing such a great job. He timed his stops to perfection. The race winner of this IndyCar Grand Prix, the first round of the championships, Nigel Mansell.
Mr. Rodney Adler from FAI will present.
Nigel, on behalf of FAI Insurances, we're very proud that you won this 1993 Indy Grand Prix.
Just reintroducing you, of course, Nigel Mansell, Emerson Fittipaldi, Robbie Gordon doing such a great time here. We have some presentations of the silver platters here. Ronnie Adler, will you come forward, because our owner trophy, of course.
Thank you, Darryl. Well, there's not much else to say, really. There is the champion. Derek Daly, your thoughts on Nigel Mansell's win at Indy?
Well, you could hardly fault anything he did, and I mean, you can't take it away from him. He came here and did everything that he could have hoped to do, and now he's worldwide headlines again.
Alan Jones, your thoughts?
Well, I think, you know, it's easy to be clever after the event, but I think we all expected him to do it, and he did it. The next big challenge for him now is the ovals.
Well, thank you very much for your company, both of you gentlemen. It was a wonderful race, called beautifully, and a terrific result, I think, for Surfers Paradise. I think it's given it legs again, this race, and I think it's really matured. Good on you. Thanks, you, Alan. Thanks, Derek. And we hope it's been as good for you out there as it has for us at Surfers Paradise. And we'll join us next weekend at Eastern Creek for the Australian Motorcycle Grand Prix. Should be a beauty there as well. Next up, though, here on 9's, we got Sports Sunday, and we'll be back with that in just a moment.